we're starting another read down vlog, and this time the category is gifted books. So books that I got as a gift from my loved ones, because, you know, we're kind of, at least here where I live, we're entering the end of the year, which is definitely a big, like, gift-giving time, so I thought that this was appropriate. So I've got 3 fiction picks, and then 3 nonfiction picks, if I can pick them up. And I'll run through what they are, but I'm not going to tell you who gave them to me until we get to them. So I've got Wardrobe Crisis, How We Went from Sunday Best to Fast Fashion by Claire Press. Got The Wager, Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder by David Gran. Got Hopes and Prospects by Noam Chomsky. Of Monsters and Mainframes by Barbara Truelove. Summer and the City by Alex Astor. And last but not least, Trick, Foolish Kingdoms Book 1 by Natalia Jaster. So we've got some historical nonfiction, some like political and social nonfiction, fantasy romance, contemporary romance, and like a sci-fi mystery. So a nice little melange of books. And some of them, I know how to say this without giving away who did what. I'll say that most of these are not books that I specifically said I wanted. So there's only one book out of this pile that I specifically said I wanted. So I don't know how this is gonna go, and I'm interested to find out. So let's see. Hello. Okay, let's talk about Summer in the City by Alex Astor. So this was a gift, I guess, via Bethany. Technically, this was one of her, so she sent me one of her Patreon boxes, and it was a gift from an anonymous fan of the Blades and Bodice Ripper book club, wanted to send this box as a thank you. So thank you to whoever that was very kind. It had lots of little goodies and treats that I've been using, you know, since I got the box. But the book inside was Summer in the City, and this I have mixed feelings about because, well, I was going to say, was it a good pick? Spoilers, if I didn't think any of these, like all of the books in this vlog are good picks for me, or else I would have silently, quietly, anonymously just unhauled them without wanting to read them. So this was a good pick for me. It's a contemporary romance. There's fake dating. That's something I'm into. It has, you know, contemporary ideas, I guess. Like it doesn't have any like cringy, out of date tropes that, for like I say cringy, they were of their time, they were of their moment, but they're not something I want in a recently released romance. So it doesn't have any of that. And I thought the writing in this was particularly good. It has a enemies to lovers component, which is a trope that I personally don't love. So they had a hookup. Let me read you at least a little bit of the back. 27-year-old screenwriter Elle has the chance of a lifetime to write a big budget movie set in New York. The only problem is she has writer's block for months and her screenplay is due at the end of the summer. In a desperate attempt at inspiration, she ends up back in the city until it's the perfect place until she realizes her new neighbor is tech billionaire bachelor Parker Warren. Her stairwell hookup from 2 years ago, and it's been a lovers to enemies situation ever since. So she's fake dating somebody she slept with and then had like a bad relationship with afterwards. So, you know, I don't love that. That's not my favorite trope, but the fake dating is one of my favorite tropes. So that kind of just balanced out in the wash. For me, the tech billionaire thing is just hard to be escapist for me at this point because I'm basically picturing Elon Musk or the Zuck, and I don't find either of those people fuckable. So I know that's not how this person is described, but that's the vibe I can't help but imagine. And then I do think our main character, Elle, is a little not like other girls. So I think all those things combined, it's also in New York. She's dating this person I'm imagining is this, you know, Musk. And I'm reading this the week that Mamdani won. So like the affordability crisis is high up in my mind for New York. So I just think there's a kind of a blend of not the right time and some issues I had with the characters, that for me, this is going to be a 3-star. However, I'm really glad I read this because I would definitely read another book from this author. I really like the actual writing. It kind of straddled the line between romance and women's fiction the way that like an Emily Henry does, Abby Jimenez. It's that kind of contemporary romance. So I'm glad to kind of have seen another author doing that, and would definitely, if it's the right description for a book, I would certainly read from her. So I'm going to give this one 3 stars, but I would say if I was being more objective, this is probably closer to a 3.5 or a 4. Just for me, when I happen to read it, it's going to be a 3. Okay, another book down. Now, Wardrobe Crisis, How We Went from Sunday Best to Fast Fashion by Claire Press is actually not a blind gift. This is the only one of these where the person used a wish list I didn't know, like I didn't process that they had access to, and gave me a lovely gift off of my wish list. And that was from my friend Jess, who is at Jess Owens, Said by Jess, my Watoot co-host, my bookish sister, basically, and sister in mess, really, more significantly. And so this was a great pick because it was one I had picked out. In terms of this actual book, so it's an interesting. Okay, so it's written in the mid-2010s, so it's about a decade old at this point. So some of the discourse or reference points, definitely, I think the conversation around sustainability in fashion has progressed since this book. But it's an interesting time capsule, and it has some good history about the transition from fashion to clothing in the sense of retailers being more focused on volume over anything else. So I enjoyed some of the sort of like history of the industry stuff in this. I also liked that the perspective of this is very rooted in Australia and then a little bit of the UK. So it's just like a different kind of angle for me as an American reader, different reference points, etc. So there was definitely a lot of stuff in here I liked. I would say the tone of this book, though, wasn't totally for me. It's very chatty in a way that was a little hit or miss for me in terms of kind of the style of it. And then it's not very, it's sort of like a collage of stories. It doesn't feel like it has a very strong structure to it. So while I would have like individual things that I thought were interesting or sort of like lines or points made that I thought were good, in general, I didn't feel like I kind of understood how she was moving us through the information. So that kind of made me feel a little bit lost at times. So I would give this like a 3.5 because I got some good nuggets from it. It had some interesting perspectives, and particularly interesting to see kind of where the sustainability conversation was a decade ago. And also, honestly, somewhat hopeful, because I do think we have progressed in general awareness about like Shein and H&M and stuff in terms of its environmental impact. I think that's a lot better known by a wider audience. So that was actually encouraging. But I wouldn't say this was 100% for me in terms of its execution, but I'm still glad I read it and I got something out of it. And it was a lovely and very thoughtful gift. So, another one down. Okay, finished another book. Trick by Natalia Jaster. This one I have mixed feelings about. So I should say the person who gave this to me was Leanna from Leanna's Library, who is notoriously difficult to please with books, particularly romance books. But this is one that I think she said she enjoyed and thought I would like because we both really love Grace Draven. And I need to double check I tried to find her rating on Goodreads, which yielded different findings, which we'll talk about. But I didn't see it, so I'll go back and double check. But anyway, so this is a gift from her because she thought that I would like it based on my love of Grace Draven. I would say I find this much more flowery than Grace Draven because the conceit is one of our main POV characters is the court jester or the court fool. His name is Poet, and he is a poet, so he has very flowery language. that checks out. That kind of writing isn't necessarily my thing. And then this is also very angsty because he's the jester, and then our female protagonist is the princess of one of these interconnected realms. They're called the seasons. So she's the autumn season, he's in the spring court, and they have a shared interest that they don't want to like each other, but they end up falling in love, all that good stuff. So it's very like angsty, which isn't necessarily for me. Yeah, I don't know. So like it's a well done book. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars because I just think I enjoyed it, but it didn't like hit me the way a Grace Draven would, or like my favorite fantasy or speculative romance stuff. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5 because I think it's probably better quality than my enjoyment of it suggests. And I do think it was a good recommendation for me. So it makes sense that she thought I would like this. I see where she was going with the Draven parallels, especially Radiance, because that's another like 2 different kingdoms, you know. In that case, like they're forming an alliance via this marriage. So it's sort of like 2 people who aren't supposed to be together figuring out how to make a relationship work. And that's not so much the plot of this one, but it is like 2 different kingdoms, 2 different like perspectives or cultures or whatever. So the interesting thing about this is apparently when I was looking for Leanna's rating, I saw that a bunch of people were referencing the fact that this got rewritten. So I have the first edition, but the rewritten edition of this has been rewritten to be romantasy, like full-on romantasy with lots of smut. And people who had read both were saying that the smut is not very good, but then the people who are reading it for the first time seem to like it. So that's just really interesting to me that this author, it's self-published, so they have the freedom to go do that. And I just think that's really intriguing. So like I kind of, since this is the original edition, I feel like whatever I do with this, I need to like give it a good home, because apparently you can't get this easily anymore. So yeah, very interesting story with this. The publication story of this, I think is as intriguing to me as the actual book experience. So yeah, this one is 3.5. Exciting stuff, guys. We have a 4.5 star. I thought this was going to be a 5 star, but I will say it gets a little, I think it probably could have been edited a little bit more, because I think this is a little over 400 pages, and I think if they had gotten this down to 350, it would have been perfection. But Of Monsters and Mainframes by Barbara Truelove is so good. This was such a good pick. So this is from one of my dearest friends, Jolene, who has known me for more than 25 years. Like, we're rounding the bend to 30. Okay, so we have been recommending each other books for most of our lives. So it's not surprising that she picked a fantastic book for me. She and I were hanging out this weekend when I read this, and I told her I was about to read it, and she's like, oh, well, I just figured it'd be a good pick for you because you love Murderbot so much, and it sounded like Murderbot to me. Which I didn't necessarily get that from the back cover, to be totally honest, but that is what this reminds me a lot of, because we have a sentient AI ship who is just doing their best and is a little being that also is in proximity to a lot of people who've died, because the premise for this is that this ship, Demeter, keeps having people die on them, and they're gonna get scrapped if they don't figure out what in the world's going on. Their like normal route is between Earth and Alpha Centauri, and yeah, I actually would not recommend reading the back copy because it describes things that doesn't happen in the book until way into it. So if what I said sounds interesting, plus some queer romantic side plots thrown in, quirky gang of characters, sadness, poignancy, if that sounds good, just pick it up. Because there's also like, well, I can tell you this part, because this is on the back cover and this is like in the first little section. The ship thinks that Dracula is behind this, and we can't tell if that's true or not, or like if there's actual paranormal stuff happening, if it's aliens, like we don't know. So, or conspiracy, that's, yeah. Anyway, this was so good. Very found family by the end of it. High action, some disorientation because our computer keeps getting turned on and off, so like they're losing time. And it was just really good. Really, really good. Great, dare I say. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Also, this cover design is fabulous. So this was such a good pick for me. I had never heard of this until Jolene gave this to me, and I love it. And it's in the Goodreads Choice Awards, which I wasn't expecting, so I guess I should go change my vote to this, probably. Whoa, it's so much darker on this than it is in this room, but okay. Maybe I'm just used to the candlelight, aka the soft glow of my LED light bulb. I finished another book, Hopes and Prospects by Chomsky. This was really interesting. So this was a gift from a person who is functionally like my brother-in-law. This is my best friend's husband's gift to me. And, you know, he's a fellow lefty. We were talking, I think at some point, about how I hadn't read any Chomsky. And so this was a Christmas gift, a very thoughtful one. This is a really interesting book because it was written like end of the Bush era, pre-Obama, and just like, you know, kind of knowing what happens after that. He just has a lot of interesting observations about US foreign policy. The beginning section is all about Latin America. Definitely learned some things that I didn't know and I wish weren't true. And then, yeah, then he's talking about Iraq. There is some Israel-Palestine stuff in here, specifically vis-a-vis Obama. So yeah, this is an interesting book. I wouldn't say that it's like, how to say this? Like, it gave me a lot to like mull on as I was reading it. I don't know that a lot of it is going to stick with me in terms of like, oh, this like really profoundly changed the way I think about things. But it was a very engaging book. Chomsky's an interesting dude. I'd read one other book from him, but it was like a co-authored book with Alain Papé, and I think in terms of like the writing stuff, which is funny because he's a linguist, you'd think that would be my favorite part of his stuff. I think I preferred more the Alain side of things in that book, and then this one, I wouldn't say that I was like particularly struck by his turns of phrase or whatever, but all in all, I think like a good noodler maybe is the way I would classify this. So I'd give it like 3.5, 4 stars. It's a really, I think the most interesting thing is when it was written and the perspectives it's sharing based on when it was written, and then like knowing how things progress. So as sort of like, maybe as like a historical document of a very notable thinker's thought life, it's a very interesting document and well worth a read. So yes, I will have to chat with him about this at the holidays. Hello, I have just finished the last book for this vlog, which was The Wager by David Grann. Yeah, okay, keeping it 100 with you guys. I struggle with David Grann because his topics are so interesting, but there is some X quality about his writing that is not my favorite. So yeah, I guess I'll just put that out there. But anyway, this was a gift from my mother. She finished this book 2 years ago and loved it so much she brought it with her on the vacation we were going on together so that I could read it. This is actually before my current obsession with maritime disasters, and I have been purposefully not watching content about The Wager because I knew that I had this on my shelf and I wanted to just like experience the story in the book versus coming in with preconceived notions. Great pick from Mom Like Whoa. She knew I was going to be obsessed with this before I even knew I was going to be obsessed with this kind of topic. And I would say this is probably the David Grann that I have had the most success with. So I should also just say, he seems lovely. I originally picked up The Lost City of Z on the strength of hearing him on a few podcasts I listened to back in the day, I think, or on the radio. I had heard him interviewed, and he was really engaging, seemed like a thoughtful, interesting guy, and I just couldn't jive with the writing. Then for Killers of the Flower Moon, I pushed through it because it's such an important topic. I knew that it was something I didn't know much about and wanted to know more about, and I'm glad I did. But my takeaway from that book was I like the information in this book, but not really it as a book. This book, I would say, is the one I've had the most success with as a book. It read much more quickly. Maybe the other thing, I looked to see if I could get this on audio. It wasn't available at the library when I was looking, because I wonder if I would do better with him in audio. But, well, no, that's not true, because I listened to The Killers of the Flower Moon. So yeah, I don't know. It's me, it's not him. But basically, he has a lot of like asides in his writing, and some of the way he like structures his chapters I find to be a little distracting. But all that to say, this one captured me the most, and those things bothered me the least out of any of the books of his I've read. I don't know if it's just because I'm very into maritime disasters right now and was looking for certain things in it because of that. But I really got on with this. I think he unfolded the story really well. I think you should go into this blind, but just know that it's a maritime disaster and mutiny kind of story. Oh yeah, it says A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder is the subtitle. So I won't be spoiling anything to tell you there is a shipwreck, there is mutiny, and there is murder in this book. And all of that was very interesting. I thought he did a good job of contextualizing the history parts of it. I really appreciated his kind of like foreword about like how he approached conflicting narratives. The notes in this are very good. They're extensive. So I appreciate his sourcing and like work as a popular historian. So I'm going to give this 4 stars because I really enjoyed the story, and I think the writing was like the least distracting of my attempts with him. And maybe I'm just getting used to it, and I can just look forward to more of his books to enjoy, because he picks interesting topics, and is very good about doing like really meaty, meaningful research and presenting it responsibly. So yeah, I'm gonna give this 4 stars. If you're interested in this kind of book, I would recommend it. I've got in terms of this kind of book, my eye right now is on the Zorg. I need to pick up a copy of that, because that's another one I've purposefully not been finding out about because I knew that book was coming out. So yeah, anyway, I will check back with you guys to wrap this up tomorrow. Okay, we've read the TBR, all 6 of these. And now that I'm looking at this spread, this reveals what a woman of varied tastes I am. What a range we have here. And I feel very seen and very loved having read through all of this, in terms of just like, yeah, all of these were good picks for me. Like, they all made sense. I'd say my high was of Monsters and Mainframes, so I guess Jolene technically won, and this was my low, but I still enjoyed it. Yeah, this was maybe a good reminder to me that I need to be more open to gifts of books. I confess that sometimes when I get a book from someone, if I've not heard of the book before, I feel anxious, because I'm a woman of strong opinion. I also have so many books that I want to read that, like, I know I'm probably not going to get to it very quickly. Like, of these, I think only this one and maybe this one I got this year. The rest of these have been on my TBR for a while. So I do feel sometimes a little bit bad about the gift situation with books, just because of who I am as a bookish person. But this, I think, is a good reminder that people know me. People in my life know me. They're pretty good at picking out gifts for me in terms of books. And maybe I just need to like roll with that more. So, Lord knows I'm giving them book gifts all the time. So I guess I should match that energy in terms of what I get back. But yeah, 'tis the season of gift giving for many people in many parts of the world. So just a reminder that books are a great gift. Because you're not just giving them a thing, you're giving them an experience. It's kind of the equivalent of giving them a gift card to like the movie theater or something, or like concert tickets. Like you're giving them an experience, which I feel like often are the most impactful presents. So with all that being said, we got some more books off the TBR. I'm feeling loved, so we're gonna wrap it here. I don't know what the math is, so I'll put that in after this, where I am on my TBR read down project, but I'll put that in, so we'll all find out together, I guess. And yeah, I think that will do it for me. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like it, hit the bell if you want to know when I'm gonna post, subscribe, all that good stuff. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family, your friends, your neighbors, your community, and I'll just talk to you guys soon. Bye!